All right, and we're live. Good evening, everyone. We are here on a very exciting and very international panel discussion ahead of municipal elections in Finland 2021 that's taking place on 13th of June, which is 24 days from now. My name is Kamila Sultanova. I'll be your host for today and present these 4 dynamic, powerful, internationally minded women who are engaging for the first time in political elections, running for municipal elections, and 2 in Helsinki, 1 in Turku, and 1 in Espoo. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
So what was going to happen right now, whoever is watching, so we will just wait for a second for people to join, but just want to give some housekeeping rules. This will take around 1 hour. I have prepared a set of questions, and what we're not going to focus on practicalities of the elections because there's plenty of material that you can read online. But I want to give an opportunity for all the candidates here to share their visions, share their passions, and why they're running for office. Why does it matter, and why you should vote for one of these candidates here. We also will know. They will hear about their political parties, right? Your political parties, and also, hear your experiences, what's going on, and what's out there, what's important for each of the candidates. So, without further ado, I would like to present our participants. So I'll start first as I see them in my screen. So first is Suvi Koivusalo. You are entrepreneur and actor. And you are running for Swedish People's Party in Helsinki. Welcome, Suvi.
Thank you so much, Camilla. I'm happy to be here. Not sure if you just said I'm an interpreter. I guess I could
Entrepreneur. It says here.
Entrepreneur. That is correct. Yes.
Yeah. Then I have next to you Elisabet Miheludaki, also entrepreneur, and running for Social Democratic Party, also in Helsinki. Hi, Elisabet.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Camilla.
Perfect. And then up front, a lady from Espoo, Katariina Komulainen, also startup entrepreneur, running for Kokoomus National Coalition Party in Espoo. Cheers. How are you, Katariina? Just arrived in the airport, right? So resourceful. And last but not least, I have Theresia Bilola from Turku, running for Green League's sustainability specialist. Welcome, Theresia.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
Perfect. So let me start with a very basic question. I know politics is important. I mean, personally, I work with diversity inclusion. I host and speak at events to bring people together. But with politics, you need to do this every single day. And I want to ask, again, we will go from Suvi, Elisabet, Katariina, and Theresia. What is your motivation to run for municipal elections, and why should citizens vote for you? Suvi, if you want to start.
Okay, I'll go ahead. So first of all, I've been thinking about this for many, many years. And I think it's partially due to having some family members in the politics previously, in the city council politics. So not like on a super, super high level. But I always thought that the day will come for me to also participate. But then I was a little afraid. I felt like I was not prepared. I felt like I didn't know enough, that I should have known everything about everything. And so that's why I didn't run before. But now I thought this is the time. I cannot wait forever to go for it. And I want to make Helsinki a better place for micro entrepreneurs and small businesses, and make education great for everyone. And also, as an actor, culture and city activities are very important for me too.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Suvi. Elisabet, what's your motivation, and why should citizens vote for you?
Yeah, so I think like many young people, we are a little bit disillusioned with the political system or don't know much about it. So that was the case with me as well. But then I looked a little bit into it after a friend suggested that I would be a good candidate for the elections. And I learned how much the city council actually impacts with its decisions, our everyday life. This is also maybe a little bit even more important than the national elections in terms of everyday life things. So that's why I decided to run then, as the timing might be also in my favor, since I've been so much involved in the employment aspect, and now with the trial for the employment area in the municipalities, there is a chance that I could share whatever I have learned and help towards that.
Okay, so kuntakokeilu process. All right. Thank you, Elisabet. So, Katariina, what's your motivation to run, and why should citizens vote for you?
Yes, thank you. To simply put, I decided to be the change. To elaborate a bit more, I have never voted, for example, and I'm quite young, I'm 23, and I never saw why should I vote. But on the other hand, I was not complaining, but kind of pinpointing, this could be done better, this could be done better, in Espoo especially. And then in January, I kind of, with a lot of support also, I kind of decided to be the change and actually like try forward the change. And why someone should vote for Katariina, I think it's the value base. If you agree with my values, I think that's already a quite a good starting point, and be this change also in a way. Yeah.
And why should the citizens vote for you? Because you want to be the change in which area?
Yes, exactly. This is actually the agendas, but sure, in entrepreneurship, supporting startups, supporting SMEs. Then second, the youth. We need to take care of our youth very much, especially now. We know that there are like a huge struggle with mental health and with their well-being generally. And then third, which is diversity and inclusion, or more or less community building. That is very close to my heart. Also being half Finnish, half Kazakh, so that's very close to my heart.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Theresia, what about you? Oh, you're on mute? You don't have to mute your phone. I think we can manage.
I'm sorry.
No
Okay, I am running with the Greens in Turku, and I accepted to do this sometime late last year. But before that, I have always wanted to kind of be a bridge between the Finnish society and mostly those that look like me or have had my kind of experience or my kind of background. So my main motivation was that I wanted to give a voice to people who probably think that they don't need to be part of this, or even if they are part of it, there's nothing they are going to impact. And then the second thing, because of my training, I feel like policy is usually ambiguous and looks like just big words. So I want to bring it down to the everyday person, like relate it to everyday life, because I have been in that place where I felt like this is just talk and this is my own life. The two cannot ever meet. But within the past 4 to 5 years, I have had a different perspective. I've had a chance to work with the city of Turku, and I have seen that actually individuals can be part of what the city is doing. So if you're voting for me, you are voting to foster multiculturalism and two-way integration, especially. I don't see integration as just trying to make the person who came to Finland try to fit into the Finnish society, but also the Finnish society trying to understand this person from where they came from. And then you are also voting to promote easy to choose sustainable lifestyle. That is not just big talk about climate and all of that, but how can you do that practically every day as an individual? And then you are voting to make sure that residents participate actively in the city of Turku, and that their participation does not end when we are voted, but it continues after elections and all through the election term. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you, Theresia. Very inspiring to hear your motivations and your conviction why people should vote for you. Some of you have experience with your family. Some of you have been encouraged. Some of you have been disillusioned in politics, and that's why you're stepping up. Katariina want to be the change. Theresia want to be the voice. So really bringing all those things together is really inspiring to hear. We have now those who are watching us. You're very welcome to post your questions so that I get to ask your questions to these candidates. And very welcome to all of you who just joined. It's the first time we're doing this very short notice, very agile way to approach this. So let's bring in those debates in English as much as we can, because we know the diverse population is growing in the next 10 years. The whole international talent attraction recruitment is going to be as big topic as ever, also with the Talent Boost national strategy that you probably have heard. So the second question is, let's jump through the very weak spot, the employment, the jobs. Today, we heard that over the year, there's been less bankruptcies, but there's been more people who lost the jobs. So with many of you are looking up at the employability and the employment situation of immigrants, of international talent, entrepreneurs, to so speak. How would you improve the employability of all people, international immigrants, in your municipality with variety of skills? We have high skilled labor, we have special skills labor, or basic skills. Who wants to start? Go ahead, Katariina. And then Suvi.
Yes, thank you. I think there's two ways to approach it. First, the employee side. So if you're unemployed, actually I'm part of the one platform building that we are kind of reskilling people. So let's say there is some job or some talent or know-how that you were doing, and then you got unemployed. So that platform is actually providing some extra skills, or even something expanding the skill even further that gives you ability to apply for different kind of jobs and kind of increasing your opportunities to find a job. Then another thing, another stigma, I would say, from SMEs. So if I'm a business owner, I have a small, medium-sized business, employer, there are still kind of culture stigmas towards that. I think that's quite obvious. International talents, and in kind of increasing the importance to these business owners, that if you're not going to do that, you're going to lose your competitive edge within 2-3 years easily. When you look at the other companies that are having very strong international talent recruitment and whatsoever. So these two aspects. But go ahead, Suvi. You also had something.
Sure. Yeah, just add on top of that, I completely agree with you. Finland needs more international talent, highly skilled talent, all sorts of talent, to be honest. And there are different ways to go about it. First of all, I think anonymous recruitment should be supported, so that people can send in their applications without their name or age mentioned, or gender or any of that stuff, because it's not necessarily like, why do you need it? At least for most jobs. And secondly, what I've understood myself when talking with international people here in Helsinki is that a lot of companies require fluent Finnish, even if the job doesn't necessarily need it, and to me, that's something, I mean, I don't quite understand it. I understand if a company asks for its employees to know the local language to some extent, or have the willingness to learn a little bit of it, to get around at the coffee machine or something. Right. But I would definitely encourage Finnish companies to open their doors much wider and say that, listen, if you don't speak perfect Finnish, that's completely fine. And you're still welcome, and you're welcome to join and learn as you go when it comes to the language, at least. Thank you.
There's a lot of work being done on university level. There is chambers of commerce, but how can you push this from the political side? Because you're not there on the side, encouraging companies to hire your first international, give the job to an immigrant who has an accent or may don't even speak a language. How do you see that happening?
Well, if I can shortly add on top of what I said, I would think as a politician, specifically in the city council, hopefully, one of the ways is to go and say that as a city, as a public organization, we can set the rules how employ people there and set the example.
All right. Elisabet, you also had the point?
Yeah, thanks. I think there are two levels to this when it comes to the companies. So first of all, to support the companies to grow more, and particularly like if we're talking about startups, to support the early stage startups more concretely. If we're talking about more traditional companies, support them to get public tenders, especially the smaller ones that are not able to get so many at this point, so we can enable them to grow and hire more people. On the other hand, there are incentives like the salary subsidy at the moment to encourage companies to hire more. But these maybe need to be rethought a little bit because they might not be fit for purpose. And this is not the only one. There are more, and companies either don't know about it or they don't use them. So we need to spread the word about them and listen more to the companies in these services that offer those, so we can learn, like, why don't they work? Why don't the companies use them? What else can we do? So these are some things that we need to look at.
So aligning services to company needs and to, how to say, company processes.
Yeah, because then they will be hiring more people, because it can be expensive in Finland to hire, and companies also need support. We can't just say, it's your problem, you need to hire people.
I mean, that's true, but also it's also one of the things that if you just hire one person and you don't change the culture of the company, it's not going to stick around. So it actually can have a contradicting effect on the company, saying we hired, we took the expense, and the person didn't stay. So it has to be built more like a bottom-up approach and top-down as well. But thank you for your points. Theresia, would you like to add something to the question on how would you help increase employability of international talents in your municipality, that is Turku?
Yes, if I can talk from my experience, I feel like what the city or the employment office, not the employment office for Turku because they have been transferred to under the city, what they are doing is good, but I think they are not looking at the immigrant labor force the way they should look at it. There is need for targeted services for different groups of immigrants for these things that they are doing to succeed. Because there is a tendency to put all the immigrants in one basket and offer these services. But then it's not effective. There are immigrants who are students who never go through the integration process. There are highly skilled immigrants for whom these services, most of what they are giving them doesn't help them. I have been a victim of that, so I can talk from experience. And then it is also important that when these things are being planned, immigrants are actually involved right from the beginning up to when they're assessing the effect of these projects. I think it will help. It's savings for the city if they involve the right stakeholders, and then they are able to identify immigrants from different groups and also different stages of life. People come here at different stages of their life with different skill level. And the third thing that I think that should be emphasized is that as an immigrant, I love a career progression. I don't want to get into a job where I don't see any growth. I don't think it's only an immigrant thing, but I know that it's very strong among immigrants that when you start working, you want to see some progression. So when these services are offered, they should think about it not just as a job, but as a career. And whether that person is actually finding like life satisfaction and well-being from what they are doing, not just selling their services like someone put it like selling your services like a call girl or call woman. You sell your services and you get money and you are not attached. You don't care about what's happening. It's very easy to fall off and on the employment market if you don't see that there is growth in what you're doing.
That's an interesting also point. So you want to have nuanced services depending which target group we're looking at. You're looking at career progression, so you also can stay. So that really relates to diversity, inclusion, and retention, and feeling of belonging, being represented, that you can represent yourself in any activity, in leadership, and across the company. Okay, I would like to reset the room in a way. Just a second, Suvi. So we got 13 people watching us. Very well welcome who just joined. Just want to introduce you again to all the candidates here. Suvi, there is Angel Barreto from International Working Women of Finland. And I must say that all of these women are members of International Working Women Finland. Woohoo, we love this community, which is 6,000 women strong. You want to join if you're not a member yet. We want to join the Facebook group and get all the great benefits of being part of this unity and network. Angel Barreto says, which city is Suvi from? So Suvi's from Espoo.
No, Helsinki.
Helsinki, sorry, it's Katariina from Espoo, yeah. Then Katariina, she asked you, so Katariina is from Espoo, so 2 questions from Angel. Then the other question from Elisabet Agbor-Eta says, employers need to be educated about the values internationals bring to the companies to consciously employ and let them develop or improve their language skills on the job. That's a good comment. Elisabeth, a second one says, she agrees with you, Theresia, that's so true. The one-size-fits-all approach in dealing with immigrants is so discouraging. That is certainly an area to improve. And she also wants to say, ho, ladies, proud of you. So very nice. Thank you, Elisabeth.
Thanks, Elisabeth.
I also want to add that I've been part of the Te integration course in 2017 when I left the shipping company. I was working for Maersk Line, and it was quite good process. But then when we changed schools, it was different, and it really knocked me off my feet. It was very depressing, very depressing. So I absolutely hear and see the pain, and that's why I'm also hoping to, with my diversity inclusion work, to bring this forward and bring in the experiences and understand why we should do things differently. So really good to hear also your experiences. Suvi, very quick, you had a finger, and then I have got to another exciting question.
Yes, I just wanted to add on top of what Theresia was already kind of pointing out about the early stage phase. So maybe after you've got your work permit and everything and you're looking for a job, that's different. But even the work permit process needs to be faster, and what Theresia was saying, that you have to have these different segments. People have very different needs. And that's why what I personally like, for example, about my party is that they're saying that even asylum seekers should have the right to work when they find a job, instead of stay somewhere in some center and wait for a permission to find a work and earn a living and pay taxes. So that's one very important thing.
That's dignity to, bring in your professional identity. In Nordics, our identity is so tied to our work. So very valid point. So quick review of your parties. Suvi, you're running for RKP, Swedish People's Party. Elisabet, you're running also in Helsinki for Social Democratic Party. Katariina is running in Espoo for Kokoomus, National Coalition. And Theresia is running for Green League in Turku. So again, our dear listeners, please post your question that's really burning for you. I'd rather ask your question so you get to know the candidates as best as you can, so you know who to vote for, starting with the pre-voting next week, So, and the elections is on 13th of June. So the other very good question is that about participation. We know that in last elections, there were the turnout is actually quite low across Finland comparing to presidential or parliament elections. It's around 60% in municipal elections. And those two people who are like us, like me, I mean, we moved from abroad, but those who don't speak Finnish as a native language, the turnout was pretty low. It was at 23.9% last elections. So my question to you is, how can you promote more voting and more trust, not just to people who are internationals, immigrants, but also just in general, enable all Finns to vote? Anyone wants to start on this one?
I could start.
And then Theresia, yes. Go ahead, Elisabet.
Okay. So like one thing that affects this is also the language. I've been contacting so many people now for this like right to vote, and many have gotten the information in Finnish and don't understand how to vote or where to vote. So this is one important aspect that might also hinder people from actually taking the action. And then we don't know much about the city council, what it even is or what it does or how decisions are made, what decisions are made. So then if we don't know what is happening, how can we get involved? How can we know how we can affect things? So one initiative I am running at the moment is Model Helsinki City Council event, which is a simulation, and it's on the 26th of May. Next week, so people can take actually the roles of city councillors for a few hours and see what happens there. So in that way we can increase the knowledge and hopefully also then the participation. And this is something that I want to keep doing more, and such like interesting concepts to engage people in the future as well.
So how does this happen? So Elisabet suggests now that you can participate in simulation of municipal running a council for a day. Do you go specifically to the city's office, mayor's office?
It's online.
It's online, okay. So how do you sign up? Do you have a link?
Yeah, there is an Eventbrite link. I can share it in the comments if it's possible, or I can share it with Camilla. So.
Yeah, or then you want to follow Elisabet Miheludaki and you will find the event under her Facebook page. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, if I can mention one thing also about the real city council meetings, they are in Finnish, but they are actually broadcasted live and there are recordings. So if you want to look at them, if you speak Finnish, you can do that. Finnish and Swedish are the formal languages, but I think English should also be one.
Right. So thank you for that. Theresia, you also wanted to speak up.
Well, I wanted to speak from my own effort, what I have tried to do. Immediately we started, I accepted to run for the elections. We formed a group in the party for those who speak different languages.
Okay.
Those who are not native Finnish or Swedish speaking in the party. And we decided to write the party's program in all the languages that we present. That was our first step to make sure that information gets to a wider group of people. And then as an individual, I started an online short video series, Wednesdays for Turku, where I talk about what is happening in the city. Sometimes I bring just everyday residents and ask them a few questions. And it's something that I plan to continue because I know I have been in that place where I didn't know that the city is doing much of what I know now. So that's where I want to start from. Information.
So you personify it.
Yeah.
Engaging it. Thank you. Katariina.
Yeah, I guess I have a very interesting insight since I'm part of the problem, since I haven't ever voted. First time for everything, right? So being part of the solution now.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing is, you said, Elisabet and Theresia, raising awareness. But then that's only one part of it. Then we need to incentivize them. How do you make us motivated and empowered to do that? What is, in Finnish we have the saying, oma lehmä ojassa. So what is the benefit for me to vote? And that starts, if I have a family, I would like to live in a neighborhood that is nice. Okay, what is that nice is another thing. If I very into different kind of sports, these are the things. And now what I'm trying to say, I think in Espoo, the city council is not in the grassroots level. They're not actually hearing. And I think the farthest are the kind of the immigrants communities that the council is hearing. any feedback on. They try, I say they try, but also I very much encourage, if something doesn't work, don't push it. Go and try to find other alternative solutions. And definitely, from my experience, if I wouldn't be running, there is a big possibility I wouldn't be voting, and me talking with my friends who are not engaged in political activities, they don't even know what is the council, what does it do. But then even though if we tell what it does do, okay, how does it affect me tomorrow? This is the thing, you need to incentivize them and kind of empower them by the activities that the council does. But Suvi, go ahead.
Thanks, Katariina. And I agree with all of you mentioning awareness. And I think this is something we're doing right now. We're going into these groups and being internationals ourselves, participating in the elections. This is us doing the groundwork there. But I think I wanted to mention something for my party, the Swedish People's Party. Although I'm not a Swedish speaking person myself, I'm still in the party. In the party, for example, we have meetings where they're sometimes in English, sometimes in Finnish, sometimes in Swedish, and it depends who the participants are. And sometimes there are meetings where if your mother tongue is English, but you understand Finnish, you can use English and somebody might respond in Finnish, but that's fine. The party thinks that the most important thing is that people do understand each other. And that's also something that as a party you can do to involve people more, even if they don't speak fluent Finnish or Swedish.
Right. So the understanding also leads to cohesion and trust. But that's right. There's two questions, and I would like to go quickly to them. Elisabet asks, question to all the candidates. So keep it short, all right? How did you choose the party to run for? What did you consider when choosing that party? I think it's a great question. Thank you, Elisabet. Who wants to go first? Go, Katariina, Suvi, and Theresia. Okay.
2014, I think I joined the National Coalition Party before I moved to Espoo, actually. And why is a very interesting question. I've not been very politically active, but I've always considered the values. Also, I'm third generation entrepreneur, so I very much share similar ideologies as the National Coalition. So I think it came from that perspective, very interestingly.
All right, thank you. Suvi.
Well, my story is as follows. I was kind of looking for my own party for a long time, and I couldn't find the one. And only until quite recently, I was having a business meeting with a person, and then she asked me, why are you not running for RKP, the Swedish People's Party? And I said, yeah, but I'm not a Swedish speaker. How could I ever be in the party? And she said, oh dear, look into what they're doing and get to know the party. And once I did, I learned that they're very supportive of entrepreneurs and education and culture, but very importantly, they are big supporters of human rights. And like I mentioned before, they really want asylum seekers to have better rights once they arrive here. And those things also matter to me a lot. So it was actually quite clear. Once I actually got to know the party, I was like, this is it.
Yeah. Did you? Okay. I'll ask the other question later. So go ahead, Elisabet. Why did you choose your party and what made you choose it?
So a friend of mine suggested that I get into politics, but I didn't really, I hadn't considered it previously. So I looked into all the parties to decide kind of what would feel more like me, and I just went to their websites, and then I guess I related more with some of the values I saw in the SDP website, and then also having the leader of the party being a woman, and a woman who is our prime minister. I think that was very inspiring for me and something I could relate with, that, okay, she's doing it, and girls in Finland can do it. So that is kind of like a role model for me.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. I think with the new government, Finland has been taken around the world, having the female-led government, and very exciting. But I think you will agree that SDP is not as nice party in every country in Europe. So it's in Denmark, I would not run or vote for SDP with what they're doing on the immigration and Syrian refugees at the moment. But that's another webinar discussion. So Theresia?
As I have said severally, I didn't choose politics I didn't choose the Green Party. Mm-hmm. It chose me first, and then I had to look into it and accept it, because I saw quite many of their values represent me. Mm-hmm. They are very international and global looking. They have a global perspective, which is the way I see myself. I don't see myself usually like a Cameroonian or a Finnish person, but as someone whose actions are impacting somebody somewhere else. So it was easy for me to accept when the party approached me and asked me whether I wanted to be a candidate for the Greens. And they approached me because I was working with the City of Turku's climate team, so related to sustainability. But I accepted because my values, the party has the kind of values that I want to see, giving a voice to the vulnerable, the environment, and then internationality.
Thank you. Yeah, so we all have been on this. So I guess if I can summarize your answers, is that Katariina, is important that you come from a business family, entrepreneur family, so National Coalition is talking to your values. Suvi, you also found the right issues and at the party, even though they don't speak their party's language. Elisabet, you got inspired by leadership of the party. You looked at the issues as well. So a lot of stuff is connected to your personal values. And Theresia, you felt represented in Green League. And it's also, of course, it's important to see the whole international global mindset when we can see in times of COVID, people and countries are closing in, being protectionistic, being very hyper-local. So it's important to also promote global citizenship for sure. Thank you for that. I have two comments to read here. One is from Angel Barreto, and she says, Einstein said, we can't change the world's problems on the same level of thinking that we created them. It's also been mentioned in the media, attitude is the real reason behind the challenges. What practical means are you proposing to change the thinking towards foreigners working? One practical example is the city of Helsinki. Interacting with the city is such a joy. Don't know what they've done, but everyone, no matter what work the city, is super helpful these days. And then I can't see the rest. Let me see if I can show this question here to you. Don't know what they've done. They're super helpful, but I guess the comment was too long. So yeah. I guess the question is, what are practical means are you proposing to change the thinking? That's one of them. And then the other comment is from Katariina Berdysheva. I'm happy I found the stream. Will it be recorded? Yes, Katariina, if you're watching, you absolutely will see it later on live stream, and then you'll see it on also other members' Facebook pages. So yeah, I think practical means is quite interesting. Anyone wants to go quickly over that?
I think I kind of touched on it when I was talking about my main areas.
I think it's good to recapitulate because a lot of people are.
Yeah, I think a practical way is this two-way integration, because there is the person who has come and there is the person who is Finnish or has lived in Finland all their lives, probably doesn't have any international experience or very little. So sometimes it's just understandable that the two of them don't easily come together. It needs education from both sides. It needs to give them opportunities to interact with each other and see that, okay, we are from different places, but we have some points where we are alike. We have points where we can actually enjoy the company of each other. We have points where this person can actually bring something to my company or to my workplace. So I would see practical solutions like bring opportunities for these for different cultures to come together, not necessarily for something big, but just for interaction, to start discussions.
Right. So, okay. Elisabet, you raised your hand.
I can say a few things about this. One would be regarding spaces, because I don't have a solution, but it's interesting to think like how spaces are created to promote this like intermingling kind of, because now we're in the same spaces, but people stick to their own groups. Is there something we could do through spaces to make them more so that we would actually get to know different people? And on the other hand, I think bias acknowledgement trainings or activities on all levels need to happen from education to cities to companies in many different places in many ways. So we just need to kind of all come together and bring ideas and structure them into something that we can try out.
So more urban spaces that bring people together, like Think Corner for me, or Stoa Health Center in Helsinki, Eastern Helsinki. Of course, we're in this COVID pandemic, which doesn't really allow us to gather at the moment. But and for me personally, I bring people around food. Yeah, I cook. Simple as that. It's so easy to connect. People really, get like excited with all funny tastes and different tastes. But it's really sad to see how COVID has really strained interethnic relations, brought us really apart on so many levels with mental health issues and whatnot. But yeah, that's really important to have that collective power, connecting power with all of your resources. Anyone else wants to answer on the practicalities? You can summarize what you said before.
There is also the role of third sector organizations, which is very important. A lot of them are already doing some form of work on this. And I think if the city increases the collaboration with these third sector organizations, then it becomes easier for what the city wants to do. I think they have the same goals, but they are not working together as they should. I know that usually in Turku, most of the initiatives is that the city comes in and gives funding and then goes. So they don't actually know what is happening in the third sector organization. But the third sector organization may actually be pursuing the same objectives as the city. And then we know that individuals are just individuals. It's easier to reach individuals through this kind of associations that they belong to. They have more affinity there, and you can reach a lot of them by working with these organizations.
So collaborate more with our other organizations which are outside your sector. This is also up and coming, and it's been for 3 years now. Citra is promoting these cross-sectoral collaborations with Citra Lab, new working cultures. You are also welcome to join this Changemakers Changemakers community on Facebook, and also find those connections who really can help you with those systemic change thinkers to really activate your ideas into action. Yeah. And the last one, Katariina.
Yeah, if the question was change the thinking towards foreigners working, maybe quick thing on it would be, for example, I worked a few years with 400 immigrants from Europe, and seeing the kind of us versus them. I also work with different asylum seeker projects, and seeing the first-hand experience. They are not the ones who are going to work in Keilaniemi, which means IT sectors or cool fancy companies. They're going to work in construction sites and very heavy industries. So I think And then another assumption that I have is that small, medium-sized businesses are the backbone of Finnish economy generally.
Yeah.
And then once it is like this, SMEs should be employing more foreign workers. But I think the decision maker now, this business owner, has a big cultural stigmas towards foreign workforce. And I've heard many business owners that I wish there would be more interaction between foreigners and them. And it would already lower the barrier a lot and create these positive interactions. But also I would like to add, we often think this is negative, but I've been working in construction industry, for example, in recruitment. And in Finland, that's positive discrimination. That Estonian is actually preferred against Finnish. So this is also
how is that? How is that possible?
They see it that is, for example, this is characteristics of the industry. Once you have an Estonian working in Finland, it's an immigrant working here at the construction side, and they come here to work, and then they go. Their families are in Estonia. Versus that their mentality to do work is much more efficient. I think many people working in this industry can really agree with me, as well as their how would I say, Finnish construction workers are not that willing to go into that spectrum of different tasks in construction industry, which is sad, because now if you think if you look at Estonian growth, now there's going to be bit longer monologue, try to be fast, but look at Estonia. They brought the workforce, or they didn't, I mean, they came to work in Finland 10 years ago, starting 10 years ago. Now they're actually working in Estonia because the salaries in construction sites are almost the same. And they brought, their purchasing power, that they came, they work in Finland, they paid the taxes, but they actually consumed the products in Estonia and sent the money to families. So these kind of structural things should be taken into consideration once you make these decisions. So it's not like very straightforward how we want to put us versus them. And then this is, I think it's very beautiful and dynamic, but very complex when you think the best solutions to these. And I think Theresia, what you were like agreeing there, I think we were both like on fire about this. So yeah, it's very interesting. Again, Suvi, I don't know why I always like passing that.
No worries. No, I think it was nice, interesting, different insight on the work ethic, the work morale. You know, we have so many discussions in the Narpes region, our tomato capital, right? That we demand, we need Ukrainian workforce, we need people from Asia to come and, fix the agriculture. And remember the last year, it was disaster. We needed 10,000 workers in no time. So you need to bring those people together. What you bring in, Katariina, is the social capital. How do you make people interact, understand that we need each other, but also that all the skills are needed? And then how do you then navigate the different ethic of, the Finns would want to do specific jobs or not want to do specific jobs. Is it a problem of salaries, or is it a need of retraining? You know what I mean? So those are the things that also need to be put into that. So thanks for raising that construction interesting aspect. Suvi.
Just quickly to add on top of that, I completely agree with the idea of companies facilitating the different workers getting to know each other much closer, and that surely brings already some change within different companies. But then also as a solopreneur myself, I would definitely highlight the importance of different services that the city provides for entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, especially. So it should be super easy. And it should be super easy to get help and different services and support to start your own business, whether you're a native Finnish person or a foreigner with your own skill set.
Yeah, I mean, I believe in power of entrepreneurship for sure. Being so agile and experimenting and pushing things to, bringing results forward rather than, if you work for, I worked in corporates, and then of course last 3 years I'm also on my own, and I can see that once you work in a specific sector, you can really close yourself in and be part of that bureaucracy wheel. So it's needed to break down, unlearn, learn, unlearn, relearn, all those new things. And so we're closing in. We have 10 minutes left. I want to talk about if there's any other questions. Kirsi mentions voting advice applications. Okay, thanks, Kirsi. Kirsi says, great points, Katariina, to you. Suvi is running in Helsinki, Katariina from Espoo. Yes, that's correct, Angel. There is a question on promoting what is, because we've seen so much of on Yle podcasts, All Points Going North. There's been a lot of politicians talking and different political party representatives, and we know the whole focus on inequality and racism, discrimination. So my question to you is that you're bringing your own voice, you're bringing the focus on internationals, but also building trust to general Finnish public audience. What is your party doing to promote anti-racism? If you have that knowledge, and how can you make sure that we can build more trust to politics, which we don't see? So we don't see that all the voices we hear is just slashing on immigrants, slashing on the international talents. So like, how do we see that anti-racism work in progress in your political party? Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay.
Well, I can start. This is something I already mentioned before, but as a party, RKP really, well, first of all, it's a minority party themselves. So they're originally representing a minority in Finland, and now I'm actually a minority member in a minority party. But anyway,
you're unique. You're unique, Suvi.
But they really find these matters super important. And like I said, that there are meetings where people can speak their, well, maybe not their mother tongue every time if the others don't understand it, but it's okay to speak English, for example, and people will understand it. And it's more important to then find understanding than highlight that, okay, everyone has to learn Finnish perfectly or Swedish or something like that. And I think that comes from within the party. And as for me personally, I just really feel that it's super important to have all kinds of people from very different backgrounds in these city councils, honestly, because we really need the representation of all kinds of people. Like Elisabet mentioned earlier, just seeing our prime minister at the moment, and I can admit that she's also an idol for me, even though we don't represent exactly the same party. But I'm like, wow, yeah, I mean, we're the same age, and she's there as our prime minister. So the same way, and how Theresia also mentioned, we need people who look, different from each other and speak different languages and come from different backgrounds, and that can only happen when we have people voting for new members for the city council. Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Suvi. Theresia.
In from my own perspective, I think these issues of racism, discrimination, and such, they are always looked on as very touchy topics, or like no-go area, as some people would say. So I see a first step is being able to talk about them openly. I don't think it's in Finland. It's yet sufficiently spoken about openly. When it comes up in discussion, it's usually it goes quiet, or the discussion just becomes really awkward. I think if racism and discrimination are talked about more, and then also especially being able to listen to the people, to those who experience this racism, because you can't define racism by studying it. You can define it only from the perspective of someone who has actually experienced it experienced it. It should not be defined from someone looking outside and saying, oh, this is racism and that is not. It's usually the victim who knows what feels to them like racism. And I think they should be allowed to talk about it. And those who are being accused, quote unquote, of being racist should be open to talk with the people who feel like they are victims. Because I feel like sometimes people take actions and they don't even know that this is hurtful to the other person, or it comes off as racist. But if it becomes an open discussion where people actually talk about it, I think it's already a big step. And then for the Green Party, you know already that it's a party for equality, talking for those who don't normally have a voice. So I think I have a good platform where this issue of racism and discrimination can actually be talked about. It should not be something that goes under the carpet, like, okay, we can't talk about that. We can't talk about that. It's happening and it needs to be talked about.
So you need to be talked about, so the racism or anti-racism doesn't stay as a no-go area, but something that we can accept and move on and see what are the ways to promote anti-racism in all our work, be it the code of ethics, be it with the charter, or be it with some specific action plan, where how you enact the party.
For instance, in the city of Turku, there have been talks about whether there should be some kind of code of conduct in the city council on hate speech and what kind of language to use during the council proceedings and what is not allowed. Those kind of things. Yeah.
Right.
But I think it starts from openly talking about it.
Right. I mean, I can recommend a lot of things that, a lot of parties and trade unions and universities can do to be much more, inclusive themselves, because we all need to walk the talk. But I want to hear Katariina and Elisabet quickly. What are your takes on the question?
Can I go first, by the way? I was just starting to talk. I think two things. Firstly, most of the people in my party, they're business owners, those ones who kind of 24/7 working. And these people are kind of your employer. And in the working place, you spend 1/3 of your life. That 1/3 can actually reduce racism and discrimination once you put people together because of work. You need to deal with it. And then, second of all, what is my opinion or how I see racism, discrimination, or generally, I think we are different. Everyone are different. Deal with it. I think more or less we should not start to kind of polarize this discussion, but say, deal with it. Why you're not dealing with it? Why it's bothering you so much that I might have a little bit Asian eyes? Why does it bother you? And kind of make it like, hey, are you okay? I know from my mother's experience from the 90s, she went to the police station, and the person who was working there kind of just refused to, help her because of the fact that she was racist. Like, there was literally no other excuses for that kind of behavior. But we have come quite far from that times, and we need to appreciate it, see what we did right, and start to implement them even more, those steps or things what we did.
Yeah, but I think the deal with it is great, but it comes with specific actions, right? Whatever measured gets done. And I think that's also a very big business imperative. You get measured if you put in the effort, you put in the funding, you put in the resources to say, we're going to do this training, that you're going to do the specific activity of Taso Arvo action plans in specific company or the party, so that it doesn't become one-side problem. It is Theresia's two-side integration is a very important way that to share the accountability and responsibility over the whole social cohesion and being together and coexisting in a nice space and being, Finnish, nice and friendly.
Exactly. I think
work life.
Yeah, I think policy formation and then the implementation of policies, two different things. But I think policies are good to be there. But then it's just a policy. It's words on the paper for that person who thinks that we are somehow in different kind of a value once you come from, I don't know, from Russia, for example. So this is something we need to very carefully think and also understand why someone is thinking like that, you know. But yeah,
it's true. We need to wrap up right now. There are some questions. Can each candidate? Kirsi asked if you would advocate for English to be an official language or a service language. Just yes or no. Tell me.
Yes.
Yes for English as a working language, an official language or service language.
Service language for me.
Service, Suvi.
Yeah, I think it already is in Helsinki as a service language.
Okay, Elisabet?
Official.
Official. Katariina?
Service.
Service. Okay, so 2 service, 2 official. All right. Can each candidate mention at least one issue they believe they have strength to address that's not related to racism, immigration, and why are you in the race? Corinne Vatainen, thank you for a question. We answered this already in the beginning. I would really like to go through the other ones because we already past 1 hour, but they have been very much open in the beginning of this conversation. So please rewind. Kirsi says, if you discussed already, my apologies. No worries, Kirsi, good question. And then Angel says, thank you, Theresia. So agree. I've been in Finland for 12 years and still don't have the right to work. Okay. First that they tried to deport me, now getting persecuted by racist bullies so badly, I can't work here anymore. It seems like the system is a little broken. Please keep talking about it. So yeah, and I think to add up to Angel, what the best thing happened for me this spring is to see the Minister of Employment Tuula Haatainen saying that we have discrimination in Finland, work-related discrimination. Think when you do recognize you have a problem, you can actually go and find a solution to this. So go Tuula, and she, and I think the statistics says during last 5 years by TEM, 44.5% of people from mostly men from Asian countries have experienced work-related discrimination, and that's open out there, and you open the statistics. So it's tough out there. And we need much more representation in politics and work so that we really bring in those services, not just policies that Katariina says, but the implementing them in a way that is also equitable and fair for all the workers and employees. So spot on, Katariina. Angel says to you, policies are good, important, but implementing them is crucial. Thank you. Elisabet also says this has been insightful. I wish you ladies the very best, no matter the outcome. You are winners. I agree with you, Elisabet. So yeah, time to wrap up. No more questions from me to you, even though I have had them all written up. So what I want to wrap up with you is that, first of all, I want to recognize that you are running as pioneers for the first time in a most historical moment of COVID pandemic, doing your campaigns with not really being out there with people. So kudos for that. You are driven by your values. You're inspired by the leaders of political parties. You're inspired by or driven by the disillusionment in political life. So that is a way for you to enter and actually do something proactive about it. What you also shared is that you care for the immigration, international talents. You care for the whole future of Finnish society. And of course, there's different party representatives here. You're from different cities and different municipalities. Competition for taxpayers is high. Competition for who should run, who will decide on, all of these municipal elections that focuses on social care, on schools, on all range of ways that actually affects our daily life. So I think whatever you have that motivation, I hope that you go on with your election campaign, and I hope to hear more of you. And thank you for having me and to host you. I had pleasure to get to know you better. And I know now what it is about. Next week, I'll be on my first casting my ballot. So thank you so much. I wish you best of luck.
Thank you, Camilla. Thank you
so much, Camilla. You were great. Thank you
was
so
awesome.
much. Audience, remember to go and vote next week.
Yeah, let's thrive in Finland, bring it forward, get out of COVID, and bring those people, foreigners, Finns together, so we can resurrect together. Cheers and rise in unity. We need that unity. Yeah, it was a pleasure. So now we're signing off. Don't log off,
Thank you.
ladies. I'm going to end the broadcast. Just stay online.
Bye.
Cheers.